What's up, Filthy Fight fans? It's me, Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Welcome back to the Filthy Report. It's time to get to some fight talk. First off, let's apologize for what went down this week. I know I had some internet issues, so it took me a little bit of time to get the video out. Don't worry, it's behind us. And with that being said, I first got to start off with some laundry, and that's going to be, if this is your first time here, guys, hit that subscribe button. While you're at it, hit that like button to help me beat this YouTube algorithm to get the Filthy Report out there so everybody can start hearing about fight talk. Now, with all that being said, let's get to this recap because we got some big fights to talk about this weekend. Now, the fight that went down on Wednesday morning had to be the Michael Chiesa versus Neil Magny fight. But before we jump to that main event, I'm going to start off with the Tom Breeze versus Amari Makhmedov. Now, this fight went completely different than the way I thought it was going to go. I didn't think that Amari was going to be able to basically take Tom Breeze down at will. Tom Breeze is not your slouch. He has some really good striking, but he also has a really good wrestling background, even though he's coming out of London. He's been a really grinder kind of grappler before, and that was when he was in the welterweight division. Like I told you guys in the breakdown before, he had just recently moved up, he got his first win, and was really trying to chomp up the bit to try to get into the top 10, and they tossed him Omiri. And normally Omiri starts off with a kind of like a slow start. He doesn't really build to that kind of fast-paced start where he's just like pushing a pace and trying to keep you on your back foot. With him, it looked like he was completely changing up his game, changing up his style of fighting from the last time when we watched him last time, which was against Chris Weidman, and which got him knocked out of the top 10 when he got beat by Chris Weidman. Now, he came in with the normal style of his heavily grappling style, but he was just continuously just pushing the pace and showing that he had some really deep, strong power in his hands. He is able to literally take you down at will, and his ground and pound is no joke. Literally knocked Tom Breeze off of his base and just kept ground and pounding him until he basically kind of rocked him and was able to cinch up an arm triangle in the second round and got Tom Breeze out of there. Now, with that being said, where do I see Amiri going with this? Not sure. I know he just called out Uriah Hall. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. It's going to be a typical striker versus grappler kind of match. Seems like a good fight. Seems like a decent fight for him to get back into the top 10. Wouldn't mind seeing it, but let's see what happens. And with that, guys, let's move on to the next. With that being said, we're moving into the co-main event, which is going to be Warlley Alves versus Mounir Lazzez. And this fight kind of played out the way I thought it was going to play out. And me saying it that way is because I felt like they were rushing Mounir Lazzez a little bit too fast. And the reason that they were doing that was that they're on Fight Island in Dubai. And he fights out of Dubai. So he has a lot of hype over in that region. He's been undefeated for a while. And he walked in there and pretty much got his ass handed to him because it was too fast. Warlley Alves has been sitting outside of the top 10 for the last few years, and he's tired of it. Now he's chasing after those fights, trying to get Tyron Woodley, trying to get Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, people like that are just sitting at that bottom echelon of that top 10 and trying to get them out of there so he can get in and start chasing after the Leon Edwards, the Kobe Covingtons, the Jorge Masvidals, the Gilbert Burns, and finally getting to Kamaru. Now, I didn't see it playing out where Warlley was going to get that kind of finish and that kind of stoppage, but I thought he was going to be able to basically get Mounir to the floor and submit him. He said, screw that, let's get this TKO. And with that, I mean, what do I see next? I know Stephen Wonderboy Thompson just basically won his last fight. Wouldn't mind seeing a matchup between him and Warlley Alves. I think it would be a good fight. And with that being said, guys, moving on to the main event, it's going to be Michael Chiesa versus Neil Magny. And this fight literally played out the way I thought it would. Now, from bell to bell, you guys literally saw Michael just completely dominate Neil Magny with his ground game. And it seemed that Neil Magny was working his way, trying to show that he could basically deal with the takedowns and wasn't scared to go on the floor or anything like that. But Chiesa was just continuously, relentlessly takedown after takedown, going for submission after submission, transitioning easily, getting the top mount, moving from back, moving from side, doing tricks, whatever he could do, showing that he had the power to get Neil Magny to the floor and that it's not going to be an easy night for him. Cardio was holding up. He was looking tired, but when it came to the ground game, there was no way that he was going to be letting Neil Magny up, which was kind of weird to me because in the fourth round, if you guys saw the fight, Neil Magny actually engaged and went for a takedown, which I didn't understand because he literally seemed like a fish out of water with Chiesa on the bottom or on top. Chiesa was able to basically reverse transitions continuously against Magny and showing that he was just completely the guy that night and had an unbelievable ground game. Now, what I really do like about this is showing that Chiesa is ready to go into that top echelon. I'm talking 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, anybody there. He's giving anybody a hard night. It's not going to be an easy fight. It's going to be a dog fight. He does have pretty decent hands, and his fight IQ is phenomenal. I mean, if you guys have ever heard him on the desk, he breaks down fights really, really, really good and gives really good detail. And he's showing the IQ in the game. He understands that he can get past the cardio issues or any cardio problems that he has because he has that grinder mentality with his jiu-jitsu. Now, what do I see next for him? Not sure. There's a few guys that he could probably get locked up with. I mean, the Kobe Cutting and Jorge Masvidal fight, it still hasn't been booked. I mean, if the Leon Edwards and Hazmat fight doesn't end up happening, give him Hazmat Shemaev. I mean, like, give him somebody that's going to give him that recognition to be able to fight for that title. All right, guys, I know it seems like I'm rushing through that recap, but there's a lot to be talked about. It's a Conor McGregor fight week. Conor McGregor's returning this weekend, and it's going to be Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 2. And in the co-main event slot, we have Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker. Now, I'm not going to be talking about a ton of fights on this card. I'm just going to tell you guys, don't miss it. It's a really stacked card. You have Brad Tavares on this card. You have Juliana Pena on this card. Sarah McMahon. You have there's a ton of fighters that are on this card. But with everything that's going on, especially with me recently talking about the whole thing with the lightweight division and all this, I'm only going to be focusing on the Michael Chandler and Dan Hooker fight, and of course the Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor fight. And with that being said, let's get into this Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker. Now, first off, I want to give props out to Dan Hooker because he stepped up and took the fight. I understand that a lot of people are like, well, why would Charles Oliveira take the fight against Michael Chandler? It's not that. I understand that Michael Chandler is coming out of Bellator. He wasn't the lightweight champion of Bellator, but he was a staple over there. He was the guy at Bellator, and he held the championship for a very long time. It's been a back and forth between him and the Pitbull brothers the whole time. But now coming over to the UFC, to me, if Charles Oliveira really wanted to stamp, and I get it, he stamped his approval to get his title fight against Tony Ferguson. But if you wanted to shut up all the naysayers, you wanted to shut up everybody and wanted to skip past everybody, I would have took the chance to take on Michael Chandler. Now, that's why I'm saying props out to Dan Hooker. Now, what do I think about this fight and how do I think this fight's going to go? If you guys have never seen Michael Chandler is a tough, gritty, fast-paced, really fast. I'm talking speed is ridiculous with him, and can take a shot and give a shot, and has really good takedowns, really phenomenal wrestling. He is no slouch anywhere in the game. He's an all-round fighter. Does he have seem to have cardio issues. He doesn't seem to have cardio issues, but I will say he can get hit a lot. Now, with Hooker, that's a good thing for Hooker because Hooker does carry a lot of power and he has snapping shots that will put you out. And he's a really high level kickboxer. If you guys remember the last time I talked about Hooker, I told you guys he comes from City Kickboxing, which he's one of Israel Adesanya's training partners. Now, with that being said, there's one thing I know about Hooker, and Hooker is not a good person that deals with dog fights. And I mean people that put heavy pressure. And Chandler's that type of guy. He's going to put that pressure on you. He's going to try to get you on that back foot. He's going to make sure that you're not going to be able to just throw continuous kicks at him. And he has really good timing where he's able to catch kicks and also shoot in for takedowns like that in an instant. So the way I see the fight playing out, it could be a huge match. It could be it has a fight of the night candidate all over it. It has fight of the year candidate all over it too. But the way I see this playing out is that Michael Chandler might be actually shocking the world and he might just drop Hooker right out of there. Now, do I feel that Hooker can catch Chandler too? Yeah, I feel like Hooker can catch Chandler. I just don't know how Hooker's going to be able to deal with Chandler's takedown. Hooker does have good takedown defense, but Chandler is aggressive and he pushes the pace very quickly. So can't wait for the fight. As you guys know from that, I'm going to be going with Michael Chandler. And with that, of course, I have to get to the main event. And the reason I'm rushing to get to the main event is there's a lot to be talked about with this. It's Conor McGregor coming back after only fighting once in 2020, which was giving him a lot of frustration and a lot of irritation. And I mean, from hearing Conor and his presser, from hearing Conor in different interviews, on one-on-one interviews, and just the press conference and everything, it seems like the old school Conor is back, and he's dialed in, he's focused. He seems to be looking really in shape, ready to go. It looks like he's going to be able to give 5 hard rounds, and his demeanor seems to have changed a little bit, and I would have to say that's from him becoming a dad. He's seemed to locked and dialed in to being focused again. It's not too much about the shit talking anymore. It's more of showing his charisma of that, his competitiveness. That he's hungry to compete. He's hungry to get a belt. Basically dusting off his shoulder, dusting off everything, telling people that he's not worried about the Khabib thing, and he's not even believing literally what Dana's saying. Basically saying like, Khabib's talking about whatever is going to shock him, it will make him come back. He's more pushing the pace that if Khabib's not willing to come back and fight him, or willing to fight any of them, or he's not interested, then he should just give up the belt and let them move on, because these guys need to be fighting for a belt. And he's not just talking about himself. It was really nice to see him in the press conference, and he was talking about all 4 of them that were up there, and that's from Chandler to Hooker to Poirier. And don't worry, I'm going to get to Poirier in just a minute. But more about Conor. I had a lot of questions because it was really weird. We only got to see him for 40 seconds last year in 2020. And in his interviews, we only got him to see for that fight. So he wasn't coming off brash. He wasn't coming off the craziness or anything like that. He's coming out having more charisma, being that stand-up guy. So to me, it seems like he's matured more, which means his fight game and his fight style has matured more. And also, it's really nice to see that he's literally built a camp around him. He's went and got some of the top people in the world to dial in and get focused on coming back on 155. And he's not just coming back and talking about, I'm just coming back to fight at 155 and it's going to be a one-off again, or 1 or 2 fights here. Because if you guys haven't noticed, Conor McGregor didn't really sit in any of the divisions in the UFC for a long time. He didn't defend the belt at 145, and he didn't defend the belt at 155. And he only had 2 fights in the UFC at 155. He's had about 3 or 4 fights at 170, and he's had about, I want to say 5 fights at I want to say 4 or 5 fights at featherweight. But to me, it seems like the 155 division is his actual natural division for him to be in. Can't wait to see how he's going to show up. Now, with all that being said, and me like basically praising Conor McGregor, don't forget it takes 2 people to tango in this fight, and Dustin Poirier is no slouch, no joke. I don't see it going exactly the same way as their first fight went, where he basically knocked out Dustin Poirier in 90 seconds. Now, that was a younger Dustin Poirier, a depleted Dustin Poirier, because Dustin Poirier normally walks around 190, 187, something around that, and he was cutting down to 145. And Dustin was more concentrated on his diet than actually training and having the cardio and everything, because he still carried his power down to 145 so he could put people's lights out like that with no problem. Now, when you're cutting weight like that and depleting your body like that, you're not going to be able to absorb shots well. And I have to admit, Conor McGregor has phenomenal power. He has pinpoint and accurate power when he's able to deliver in the cage. That is why he's always usually able to get people out of there quickly. Now, with all that, understand when I say Dustin's a completely different fighter now. He carries a little bit more weight. As you guys can see, he's built his body up and gotten ready for 155. He's been at the top of the heap of 155 for a few years now. He was the interim champion for a minute, and he did take on Khabib and basically got Khabib like everybody gets Khabib. I mean, look, even Conor McGregor got Khabib. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be answered in these fights. And the answer that I'm looking for is, does Conor still have that Mystic Mac appeal? Remember, when he first fought Dustin Poirier, this was when the whole thing started with the whole Mystic Mac, where he was just giving prediction after predictions. And he's basically putting a prediction again and putting pressure on himself again, saying that he's going to get Dustin Poirier out of there in 60 seconds. Now, do I think he can't do it? Anything's possible with Conor McGregor. He's very pinpoint. He has really heavy left hand, and he has an awkward fighting style where he's able to control, basically cut you off in the ring and get you to go to his stronger side, where he's able to put that left shot right in your face and put you down. Now, with Dustin, Dustin's more of what I would like to say, he even calls himself the comeback kid. He's the reason that he's called the diamond is because a diamond's built under pressure, and he's always the underdog. He's always coming back in a fight. That's how he's been winning most of his fights lately. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is if Dustin's gonna have that mental fatigue from the last time he fought Conor McGregor, if that's still in the back of his mind. Because if he's going in there carrying that on his shoulders, then it's not going to be a good night for Dustin. I think Dustin has a really good ground game. If you get Conor to the floor, he might be able to smother Conor and pressure him and see if he can weigh in on that cardio. But if you guys have heard Conor in a lot of his presser and in a lot of his interviews and everything, that his cardio is pretty much dialed in, and we won't know until fight night. But he seems like a man on the mission. I think this is going to be a phenomenal fight. I can't wait to see how it's going to play out. I like both of the guys. I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan, but I'm also a huge Dustin Poirier fan. But I will admit to you guys, I'm kind of leaning towards Conor McGregor. It just seems that he has that same old school charisma about him, where he's dialed in and ready to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to put Dustin Poirier out in 60 seconds. So make sure you guys keep your eyes glued to the screen and paying attention to that fight. It's going to be a phenomenal fight. These, especially all these fights on this card, at the top of this card, and I'm talking the main event and co-main event, they have a huge meaning. There, one, of course, in the looming in the division is Khabib. His shadow's looming in the division. We'll see how it goes if Khabib actually comes back. But by the end of the year, if Khabib isn't even coming back, two of these guys will be fighting for that belt. One of these guys, by the end of the year, probably will be crowned the lightweight king. And also, who's going to be the next one for Charles Oliveira? And don't forget, Tony and Justin are still waiting in the wing too. So we'll see how this whole division plays out. It's looking to be a stellar year. The fight cards that are coming out for 2021 seem to be just stacked. I'll be posting up the pay-per-view listing for 2021 just the beginning of the year on my Instagram this week, so everybody can see what's really going down this year. There's going to be some phenomenal championship fights that are going on. All right, guys, let's get to this fight news. And first off, since we're talking about Conor McGregor and it's Conor McGregor fight week, I have to talk about, if you guys haven't noticed in a lot of the interviews, it's showing a lot that Conor's come back and he is thirsting for competition. He wants to challenge himself. He's trying to push the pace. And it's funny to me because he seems to be having his eyes on Max Holloway too now. And he would love to do a rematch with Max Holloway, which I would think would be a phenomenal fight. Which brings me to asking you guys a question. What would you guys think should happen next? Should Max Holloway continue to chase after the 145 belt and go after Volkanovski to get the belt back? Or should he drop that and just say, screw it, let's move up to 155, take a couple of months off and build up the weight, get ready for the weight class, and come back and just put a beating on somebody? Let me know. Hit me up on IG, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on TikTok, or hit me up in my YouTube comments and let me know. With that, the only other thing I got for you guys is, if you guys haven't heard, Gunnar Nelson's looking for a fight. So he hasn't fought in about, I want to say, 3 years. But he's looking to come back and he's looking to start building up some wins and get back at that title contention. Now, with that, I was saying earlier, I wouldn't mind seeing Michael Kessler versus Gunnar Nelson. I think that would be a really cool match. But I also told you guys, I don't think Michael Kessler should fight anybody below him. I think he should sit and wait to see if he can get somebody in the top 5. But if he's not able to do that, or he's not able to work it because it's such a logjam, when am I seeing that match? Two high-level grapplers going at it, one having better hands. Let's see how it goes. And with that, guys, that's literally all I have for you guys. Not that much going on. Can't wait to see how this fight goes down this weekend, which, again, is going to be Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 2 on pay-per-view. It's also going to be on ESPN and ESPN Plus. So make sure you guys catch it. And like always, hey guys, if this is your first time, hit that subscribe button. And also hit that likes button so I can beat this YouTube algorithm and we can get the Filthy Report out there. Please help me out. And hit that bell so you guys know when my next episode is dropping. Until next time, guys, always remember, if nobody loves you, I love you. I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Peace.